Welcome to Everything But the Kitchen Dink, the podcast where we discuss all things pickleball with your hosts, Rob and Andy.
Welcome back to Everything But the Kitchen Dink, episode 91.
Amazing.
Can you believe we've made it to 91?
I can believe I made it to 91.
I wouldn't have thought we made it through one. But anyway, we have got a very special episode 91.
We have.
Yeah.
We have. Very excited for this.
Multiple authors or authoresses. I don't even know what's correct anymore. We have Dr. Stormy Hill and Terry Sitterman, all the way from you could tell us where you're from.
I'm from Austin. I'm Terry, and I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm Stormy.
Okay, so where are you now? Are you in Florida now?
We're in Austin, Texas.
You're in Austin, Texas.
I've actually been to Texas a couple of times.
You've got family there, haven't you?
I've got family in Texas, yeah. So I love Texas. It's a really good state in America.
People love it here.
Yeah, it's one of the best.
It's a bit hot for me, I'll be honest.
It is that as well. Yes.
But I've never been. And anyway, so the reason you two are here today, you have released an amazing book called In a Pickle: How to Master Love and Pickleball and Not Kill Each Other. Now, if you want, someone's at my doorbell. If you are not in love with your partner, obviously I am, on the court, that is. Don't be turning off yet, because this is it reaches so many more people than just love on and off the court.
Than just married couples.
Yeah,
on the court. Yeah, absolutely.
So just introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about you. I know you've written multiple books, both of you, haven't you? And just fire away. It's not a job interview. Just take it easy.
Sounds like
Tell it. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Tell us about yourselves first before we get onto the book. So your background and how you actually got onto writing the book.
Don't all rush at once.
I'm Terry Sitterman. Oh. There was a little bit of a delay. So
Okay.
I'm Terry Sitterman. I'm an executive coach by day. I wrote a book called From the CEO's Perspective. I work with leaders in mostly tech, but all other industries as well. And some of the big issues we talk about, which are in the book, are communication, emotional intelligence, feedback, giving feedback, dealing with conflict, all the things that we deal with in life.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm Stormy Hill. I'm a mental health therapist, and I've worked in the mental health space for over 15 years now. And I'm also a certified relationship and intimacy coach that I work with men, women, and couples, helping them have better relationships in all parts of life.
I mean, it's just so perfect for pickleball. It really is. I mean, so tell us, you've written other books, so you've got experience. How did this? Well, tell us about your pickleball career, or any of your sporting career that's led to pickleball.
Okay. So I'm originally from Seattle, the birthplace of pickleball, and we had never seen a pickleball court. We had never heard of pickleball. And then we moved to Austin about 2 years ago, and pickleball was everywhere. So we picked up paddles and started playing and never looked back.
Okay, so I assume your history in mental health and coaching, executive coaching, how quickly did that sort of materialize on the court and then turn into the book?
Mm-hmm. So I think for me, I also started playing about 2 years ago. My boyfriend invited me to play, and I was very judgy about it. I was a tennis player, and I was like, I'm too young for this sport, maybe in 10 years. And but Terry became instantly hooked. And my boyfriend and I did really well on the court together until we started getting better, and until we started, improving, and maybe 3-0, 3-5 level, and then maybe even playing tournaments. And then we saw our relationship really deteriorate quickly on the court. And I was kind of upset with myself, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a therapist. I should have these strategies. I work with couples. And it just fell apart on the court. So for me, it was like, how do I apply the things I teach and and like, how do I walk the walk, and not just talk the talk, and really apply these things so I could play with my partner, because we were even considering what we call pickleball divorce. And that was my experience, and Terry had a similar.
Yeah, I mean, my husband's very competitive. He got very good very quickly, and I believe I'm competitive, but certainly not at that level. And so it became really hard to play together, and especially in where there was a competitive, or a high stakes competition tournaments. And so we had to come off the court and really decide, are we going to have a pickleball divorce? And I was devastated, because I wanted to be able to play together. I wanted to be that couple. And eventually we found our way back. So.
Okay. So I assume when you say in the beginning it was okay, obviously when you get more competitive, were you drilling together, or was it just sort of a path you went down, and then all of a sudden was your husband getting approached by other players, or was it affecting your relationship off the court?
Mm-hmm.
So you were annoyed with each other?
It wasn't that there were other players approaching him. It was more just when we were on the court, because the level of play went up and the competition went up, the expectations went up dramatically. And while I'm relatively athletic, I'm not a gifted pick up a paddle and become a pro type of person.
Right.
And so, he can emulate other players very quickly and learn very quickly. I mean, he watches PPA all the time, but not so for me. And it became a pretty big problem on the court.
Okay. So how did that materialize, sort of with a rouse? It carried on when you got home. There were rows about you should have taken that shot, that kind of thing, or?
It was more like, if you don't stop being a dick, I am not playing.
That's how it went. My wife has never been into sport or pickleball in any way. Neither is Andy's wife. But actually, for the first time tomorrow, she's going to play pickleball.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous, because this could lead to being a partnership together. And then I'm going to be on to you for a bit of advice, I think.
And I've asked my wife, I love pickleball. I love the community. I'm obsessed with it like everybody else. And, I want to share that with my wife as well. But she doesn't want to get involved in that. And I'm relieved. I almost don't want to, but I wanted to, because, I don't want the situation that Robert is blindly walking himself into.
I'm not. She'll play.
Right, you're right. And the situation we saw, like, I experienced that, Terry experienced that in our own love relationships. But another reason we wrote the book is we saw it on everywhere from rec play to tournaments, even all the way up to the PPA level, couples fighting or being in tension, like in disconnect on the court, losing points because of it for sure, but losing love because of it, right? Like it doesn't take, like you said, like you just said, Andy, taking it off the court and back into the home. And we were like, wow, like we had learned to play better with our partners and to love playing with our partners. And we wanted to share that with other couples, because, it's the fastest growing sport in the US. It's the fastest growing sport 3 years in a row. It's taking over the world. We all have such an allegiance and love for it. And so many couples struggle in this arena. And we've all played against couples when they're fighting or in tension. It's not pleasant for anyone.
Playing down the middle.
Yeah, exactly. The marriage, we call it the marriage shot or divorce alley.
Yeah, I mean, the goal really when you're playing, well, not just couples, but siblings, or we've played against father and daughter, and or even close friends. It's almost a goal. You want to get them arguing.
Totally.
Yeah.
You're going to win the next few points, right? Like, and actually I was at a PPA event in Southern Utah with my boyfriend when the kind of idea was just percolating about writing this book. And we just saw so many couples, and I would say, watch, they're going to lose these next few points because they were in tension and conflict. And sure enough, and finally my boyfriend was like, you might be onto something. This might be true. And so we started asking around, and then Terry and I wanted to bring our skill set in coaching and executive coaching to help the masses so they can navigate this better and win more and love more
and have fun. It's a friggin' fun game.
I know we do forget that sometimes.
Yeah,
don't we? We just need to have a
oh
bit
yeah,
of fun.
I forgot it was fun.
Yeah,
Thanks for reminding me.
What sort of level do you guys play at then with your partners, or?
And do you play together as well?
Yep. So we play together as women partners, and we play very well together as women's partners.
Have you had any problems, like arguments with each other?
Nope. Nope.
Not
nope.
about pickleball.
Only about co-authoring a book, which is not an easy thing to do. So,
So tell us a little bit about your trajectory as a partnership yourselves.
Our trajectory.
Yeah.
Where do you want to end up? Do you want to do more tournaments together? Do you want to just do rec play? I mean, where do you want to take your partnership?
We like playing. I mean, we play tournaments and we like playing tournaments. And yeah, when we can, we do. We don't live in the same state. So when we're together, we try to play as much as we can.
One of you needs to move.
Yeah, I know. Well, we'll be going down to
saying that.
Costa Rica because we live in Costa Rica. Each of us live in Costa Rica part of the year, and we're going down to Costa Rica in February to play in the tournaments. We'll play together.
Amazing.
Her husband, my boyfriend, will play men's together, and we'll play mixed against each other.
Maybe we're a heartbeat.
So I don't think you've mentioned how the two of you actually met.
Playing pickleball in Costa Rica.
Right. Okay. So you just one day you just gelled.
Yeah, and I actually was like, oh, who is this really beautiful, feisty, fiery woman? I want to know her. And then we started chatting, and then my boyfriend, her husband, hit it off, and we've played in Mexico together. We played in Texas together. We play in Costa Rica together. We're getting her to Utah to play, so we play everywhere we can together.
What about the UK Open? Fancy that
I know.
one?
I think it's a good idea.
I do as well.
Yeah,
I think you should do that one. It's a big one.
The biggest tournament outside the USA.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And we feel lucky. She's in Austin, Texas, which for here, I mean, Texas is a huge, pickleball community. And then Utah, for me, is a huge pickleball community. We get a bunch of the PPA events, and we've been to those. We played in the amateur side and watched the pros play live, which is
amazing.
fun. Yeah,
you're very lucky.
You are.
So, obviously, you've mentioned about the idea for the book, but give us a bit of an idea of the timeline from it's an idea to thinking about it a bit more, having a little discussion, to then really taking it onto the level where it's actually going to happen. How does that work, and how long is that time scale?
So let me caveat it with we are both authors, so we've done this before. Okay, so the idea came up in, I think, May. Mm-hmm. We started writing in June, and we published in October. So
wow, that's pretty quick.
And that tells us a little about both of our personalities too. So
that's because you don't have to use a typewriter anymore and keep pushing it back.
Exactly. I was
so it
actually
happened
recovering
quickly
from a hip replacement. I had a total hip replacement. So for me, it was such a blessing, the timing to really have a really fun project with a dear friend to kind of, take my mind off of, when I couldn't play pickleball or exercise, it gave me something to keep my mind busy. So I'm super grateful for that.
You look way too young to have a hip replacement.
Thank you. I'll take it. We'll see. I'm about 4.5 months out, and I'm back on the court, and literally tearfully happy to be back on the court. So
how do you sit out for 4.5 months? I mean,
well, I've broken my foot, and I'm out for 6 weeks at the moment. And that's
sorry.
Well, that's a long time for me because you want to play all the time. How did you cope with having to be out for that long?
Well, writing the book with a friend. I mean, really, it was seriously like I just was like so happy to have something to do. The psychological journey was way harder than the physical journey for me. But I'm a 7-day-a-week workout, probably 7 days a week pickleball, 5 to 7 days a week of pickleball also. And so, it was just, in the grand scheme, it was 12 weeks. And so it was not easy. I would be lying if I said it was, but I think honestly, the support of Terry and the support of our pickleball friends and community who reached out and they're like, you'll be back soon enough. I mean, that was really.
Yeah, I've had no support.
I just keep saying, come on, you better now.
Yeah, he just keeps saying, you ready? You must be ready.
It's enough already.
Calling you and giving you support.
Yeah, well, sorry, yeah.
Thank you.
But I will say when you get back to it, and I'm sure you've experienced this, is like, I mean, honestly, I didn't think I took pickleball for granted, but I kind of did, and I will never again. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, it's a good thing to take from it. Absolutely.
Like my stomach's turning at the thought of being out for 3 months.
Yeah.
So obviously, you've then decided to write the book. It's coming out. Do you get some kind of early reception, or like how's it been since it? I mean, we'll go on to the ins and outs of the book, but how's it been since its release? I've seen very good reviews out there.
Thank you. So we released it October 24th, and we got #1 new release on Amazon and Bracket Sports.
Right.
And I mean, we've sold a lot of books, which most authors aren't privileged to say as authors. We know that.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool. I mean, it's a fun book. It's an approachable, easy to read, and very helpful book. And we wrote it to be something that you can read out loud, and it's snarky, and it's all the things you want in a pickleball book.
Do you think that obviously playing with your partners and the experiences you've had with playing with your partners sort of shaped the way the book was written?
100%.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite things to share is that we've been doing book signing events and fun events. We were at Chicken and Pickle in San Antonio this weekend.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was so fun. But the people will say to my boyfriend, her husband, so you guys read the book? And they're like, we are the book. True, it's true.
I can believe it.
It's
So
a lot
you
of personal stories, and a lot of, I mean, really personal stories.
right.
Okay.
and other people's stories, and so other people, we can all relate to how it is on the pickleball court.
Yeah.
So I guess now when you appear on court or you appear at an event, if there's couples there, they're probably scared that you're watching their every move because they might be in the next book.
Yeah, exactly. And there will. The next we're thinking might be on dating, because dating in pickleball is now this huge, trend, at least in the US. I don't know how it
Yeah,
is over
I was
there in
going to
the
come on
UK,
to that. Yeah.
and here, like in New York, and they're making pickleball dating apps now. So that we think
Really?
that'll be book 2.
I think the
that's
fun
awesome.
thing is when other couples are playing and they'll say, someone needs to write a book about couples who play together, and we can say, we did.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, let's hope this has a happy ending at least. So just going on to the book, there's things about. I mean, is there any parts that stand out for you? I've got some bits here that I wanted to discuss with you, but is there anything that sort of stands out for you?
Well, I mean, I think Terry mentioned the intention was to be helpful, relatable, and irreverent, right? It's snarky, it's funny, it's sarcastic, to make people laugh. And that was, you mentioned, Andy, about, even this applies for people who are not playing pickleball with their love partner, right? It definitely applies for partnerships, playing with same-sex partners, with friends, with siblings, because these are just strategies that help you be a better human and help you be a better pickleball player, right? So taking life strategies and applying them to the pickleball court was our intention on this, and to make them practical and relatable and powerful strategies. So, I mean, I think probably the if I had to share one piece of advice, it'd be from our first chapter, which is that the first rule of pickleball is don't be a dick, right? So the second rule of pickleball is also don't be a dick. So
Forget
yeah, exactly. And we even have our little stickers over here that say, don't be a dick, love and pickleball. So,
oh, well, that's
yeah.
Robert out.
Yeah, and that's for life, right? Like that applies to life. So that applies to, if you're playing,
Yes.
anyone you're playing with. So that for me is like, if we can remember that, and you mentioned, Rob, if we can like keep it playful and remember why we fell in love with the sport in the first place, those are two great tips.
We do forget when we play why we're actually playing. Especially in tournaments when we're so serious, especially with each other.
Yeah.
And we do need to sometimes, I think, take a step back and just think, why are we here? Why are we doing this? Am I enjoying it? Because most of the time I'm not.
No, I mean, there's been times, there have been times where, generally our routine is, first of all, we don't play enough. We don't have the opportunities that we would if we were in America. Everything's indoor here. We don't have purpose-built centres. So we're relying on sharing time with other sports indoor. So generally, I mean, we live on the same street. We go together. We created our own club. We go together on a Tuesday night. We go, we're all excited. We come back, we're all down in the dumps, talking about where we went wrong and, how we can be better. And that's generally the cycle we're in. And we do forget that it's about having fun. But there's also, I think, when you are close with someone, whether it's a love partner or a close friend, you know, for me, it's a fear of letting him down.
Totally.
It's sort of always
You don't
hanging
need to have
over
that
me.
fear. You always let me down.
Oh, well, that's a relief.
Amazing.
You kind of walk
No,
right
but-
into that one.
But, you know, sometimes we do put immense pressure on ourselves
Totally.
to not let each other down. You know, I'm worried he's going to leave me. He's not worried that I'm going to leave him. Because, but you know, these are the kinds of things that weigh on you, and I can imagine it's probably magnified so many times when you actually live with the person.
Yeah, I would say live with the person and have sex with the person. It gets even more complicated.
He's not ready for that yet.
Probably your wives aren't either.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But he's right. I mean, what Andy says is right. I mean, obviously, we've been friends for over 20 odd years. So it is like a marriage on court, really, in a way. And we do have the same sort of reactions as a married couple would have, I guess.
Absolutely.
And I think that adds pressure because we are so close.
Also, it's intertwined. Our career is intertwined with the podcast. So basically, we're stuck with each other, whether we like it or not.
It's very difficult, and we're not. But how do you sort of? I mean, you've written the book. You know more than us. How do you sort of overcome that when you're so close to a person?
Well, I'm just going to dig right in. There's lots of strategies, communication, how to deliver feedback, but I'm big on having a safe word. When things become just overwhelming and it's too much, have a safe word.
Idea,
yeah. Ours is pumpernickel.
Mine's pineapple.
When the safe word is spoken, everybody goes to their corners. Nobody says a word. Just reset.
That's a really good one.
Okay.
I like that. I'll have to think of a safe word.
Yeah.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Normally we have a safe phrase.
That's a bad safe word.
Normally our safe phrase is "I'm done with pickleball."
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, right. I mean, no, I love, and so that's one of the strategies we have is a safe word, which is a great one. You know, and then obviously we have a whole chapter on communication. We have a whole chapter on feedback, which means giving and receiving feedback, considering things like your timing, your tone, your turf, right? These are great strategies, no matter who you're playing pickleball with, but they're also great strategies for life, right? For business, for everything, for parenting, for everything. So so feedback, communication, we talk about having intention, like intention setting, goal setting, which means that what we recommend and what I practice is I have my intention, my boyfriend has his intention, and then we have a collective intention, because that might be different. We might be, let's say I'm working on, a third shot drop right to the right corner, and he's working on a third shot drive. Like, it's good to know that ahead of time so that we know what we're working on, what we're leaning into. It might be footwork, and there's so many examples, but that was the idea, is that we're giving each chapter, we're focusing on a subject matter and giving strategies to help support.
Okay. And I think, you also mention in the book about the highs and lows, the emotional highs and lows. And I think, we can certainly experience that. Our career started really on a very high trajectory. That's the word. Yes. We started when pickleball was young in this country. And we succeeded straight away. We won at 3, we won at 3.5, and then the jump to 4.0 all of a sudden coincides with so many more people in a very fast growing sport, and all of a sudden you're not as successful, and there's a lot of tennis players coming in, and then that's where the stress starts coming in as well.
Totally.
But also the fact that we've had the emotional highs, and when we do a shake and bake, it's amazing, and we turn around and we're doing all these celebrations we've seen on TikTok.
We don't do it because we've planned to do it. It just happens sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
You know what? A shake and bake's a shake and bake. Serendipitous, right?
Sometimes we're just so in sync, and it like Robert says, it happens, and we haven't even planned it. That's how sometimes we're just so on the same page, and then sometimes it's just not working. And
totally.
we've had those highs and lows, and you mentioned that, and it's just, you know, what you're saying it's just so true.
I guess it's a question of how do you deal with the lows? I mean, we all can deal with the highs quite, you know, easy, but it's the lows that are the difficult part, especially when you're going home with that partner. How do you deal with that when you get in the house? I mean, do you not speak to each other?
I mean,
We've tried that.
we've had times where we've sort of, you know, maybe we haven't. I mean, we probably speak about 4 or 5 times a day, and then. But if we've had, you know, we had a couple of bad tournaments recently, and you know,
we both just walk off and not speak for a bit.
Yeah, because you don't know how, you know, it's difficult.
Yeah,
well, and it starts in the car. I mean, as soon as you're off the court and you're in the car,
yeah, you're right.
It's there, right?
Yeah.
The elephant's in the room.
Yeah.
And I'm not one to not say what I think. So, so I'll say, like, you know, in a healthy communication way, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now. You know, this didn't work for me on the court. I mean, it's really about communication. Now, in the car may not be the best place. Timing may be, you know, let it sit for a while. But I think it's important to have those kind of downloads or debriefs after a bad game so that you can address them and get better. And I'm not saying this is easy. It is not easy. I mean, I didn't speak to my husband for 2 days.
Well,
and I've never done that before, but I was so pissed.
Yeah.
And you know, I couldn't find the words. Fortunately that's never happened again, but you have to communicate what's going on and what's going right and what's going wrong in order to change behavior.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we don't live in the same house is probably good, because if
Yeah.
we came back to the same house together after a tournament, we
Yeah,
would speak to each
my
other
husband
for
was wishing we
weeks.
didn't live in the same house.
And you're absolutely right. So a strategy I use when I'm coaching couples is like to be able to give and receive a timeout, right? So you're like, the two of you were talking about taking a timeout. Like, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to decompress. We're not going to vent. It's too hot right now. It's too raw. So timeout is beautiful. It's a great one. And then I think that this is not in the book, but I'm just ad-libbing this. But if you're going to take a timeout, a circle back is important if you want to continue to play together, right? So I'm not a big fan of sweeping it under the rug. I say that just leads to a really fucking lumpy rug. But it's like, so you can take a timeout, but you got to circle back, and the circle back might be like, hey, like, you know, whatever, do you want to look at this footage together and see what we see, or what, maybe we have some patterns that we need to work on, we need to drill more, right? So those are great, you know, technical strategies. And we did put technical strategies in the book. They're not just relational, because it's both, right? I mean, that's one of the things that I can speak for myself that I'm obsessed with about pickleball is there's so much strategy, and there's so much athleticism, and there's so much finesse, and there's so much power, all built into one fabulous sport.
Yeah, I mean, you might have figured by now, what's it been, 25 minutes? You've probably figured by now that we're emotional basket cases when it comes to, you know, and this is the problem, that no amount of therapy is really going to cure us on the pickleball court. Surprisingly, we're okay in real life. I don't know how we've made it. You know, I've got my own business. Robert's run his own business. So somehow we're getting by in life. It's just, we're just so competitive, and I think that's where it comes from.
For us, we've never had anything like this before in our lives. Like, we've not got any racket sport backgrounds, so we've never played at a competitive level before. So for 2.5 years for us, this is completely new. So, you know, we've got all that to consider as well. I think when you've played sports before, and you've played tennis or badminton or whatever sport, you know, you've got that to sort of compare it to, where we don't really have that. So for us, it's a learning curve all the time.
Well, totally. I mean, you mentioned earlier, you both mentioned that, right? You expect more out of each other, same as we do with our love partners, right? You guys are dear friends and colleagues, and whether you're playing with a dear friend, colleague, or your love partner who you're going home with, you know, we do have, and it was actually our pro in Costa Rica who shared with us. We were picking people's brains and she actually plays, like, represents Costa Rica in the World Cup and such.
Wow.
And she said it really well. She said, well, yeah, I expect more of my husband, right, than I do of, like, the stranger, the male at rec play that I'm playing with, who I've never played with, who I'm so delightfully nice to on the court, you know, because we do. I mean, anyone who says, you know, we all have expectations, particularly of the people we love.
Yeah. You go on to talk about and I love this phrase, kitchen knife moments. I'm going to be using this in all facets of my life now. But I'll let you elaborate on that.
So a friend of mine, my friend Renee, who I play with, shows up one day to the court and says, "Oh, I almost had a kitchen knife moment last night with her husband." And I'm like, "Oh, tell me more." She's like, "Yep, almost stabbed him. I was standing right there." I'm like, and I'm like, "Oh, kitchen knife, like it's a pickleball thing. We got to take that to the pickleball court."
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of a, I wouldn't call it a safe word, but it's a description of those times when you would really like to stab your partner.
Paddle or whatever happens to be close.
Yeah.
Whatever weapon of your choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing. Amazing. I mean, we do actually have a couple at our club. And
Knives.
we need some, yeah. Forget the nets, we'll bring the knives. But we do have a male and female couple at our club, and they don't play together. He says he would kill her. I hope they're not listening.
There's a couple of couples at the club, to be honest.
Yeah, and there's various, when we go around the tournaments and we know a lot of people now, there's plenty who are husband and wife and they don't play with each other. Some
do, some don't, yeah. For those reasons, I guess.
Exactly.
And, yeah. Yeah.
Terry,
so,
you talk about your throuple.
Well, so here, this was our solution, because so what you're describing is common, and we've gone through it. Like, and if there's no way to find your way back, it becomes you just don't play together anymore, and it's really sad.
Yeah.
So one of our solutions was we found a throuple, which is
Hey.
yeah.
okay.
Where'd you sign up for that?
Throuples, you didn't know we were going there, did you?
Don't you just love pickleball?
But it's a guy who I play with in tournaments, and my husband plays with for men's doubles.
I think there's a word for that.
Yeah, there's a word for that.
Yes, there is.
And we talk about that in the book. We also talk about choosing a pickleball divorce, and we're like, you might decide it's best for your relationship to not play pickleball together, but do it thoughtfully. Don't do it when you're super pissed off after your partner's been a total jerk on the court. That we wanted to give people tools and strategies and and techniques so that if you decide not to play together, that's fine. But that don't just throw in the towel before you've tried some strategies that, like change theory, Terry and her executive coaching, me and my relationship coaching know work, and now we just need to apply them to the pickleball court.
Yeah.
I actually went through a breakup quite recently with my female pickleball partner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time, as I said, I've been in any competitive sport, and the first time anything like this has happened. And I actually felt like I went through a divorce.
And also you were what you considered and still are close friends. And I think that was the key. And that's why at the beginning I said it's not just about romantic couples. When you go through a 2-year period even of becoming close on and off the court, not romantically.
No, but we're very close.
But
close friends and
texting each other about matches and tactics, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
And it just felt like it was like a breakup. It took me a good week or so to get over it.
Yeah.
It was hard. I'm over it now. I mean, I'm fine. But
are you though?
Yeah.
How are you? No, that's a really great point, right? And we actually haven't been asked that, but I love that because it's right. You have a close relationship, right? Pickleball is, it is incredibly intimate. We say it's a microcosm of your relationship. We're talking about your love relationship, but it's small.
Pickleball wife.
Yeah, we travel around the country in teams. Teams.
Absolutely. There is an intimacy to that, and so there's a grieving when that ends, right? There is a grieving process. So that's totally to be expected.
And we wanted to make sure people had more than one option. It's not just we can't play together, split. This book helps you find different strategies to try. They may not work, but at least you have some options.
Okay. You mentioned about mirroring real life. Do you see that? Do you believe that? Can a couple be different at home and on the court, or does it mirror? If they're at each other, does it generally mean they've got a terrible marriage?
No, that's a great question. So I actually purposely did not say mirror. We said microcosm because it is not a mirror. Well, for us, for me, it was not a mirror. I have a really very good, peaceful, very good communication with my boyfriend, and it fell apart on the pickleball court because it's and I think similar for Terry. And it's so it's a microcosm. Like it really just amplifies and intensifies in a very small space, maybe the things that that haven't shown up in other parts of your relationship. So we say it's a great communication workshop, a great relationship workshop, a great self inventory, right? You get to say, like, where am I being a dick? Like, where did I maybe make an audible eye roll, so you get to kind of to look at yourself and to look at your partner. And so it's a workshop.
Well, and like you both, I wasn't a competitive sports person. So the mental toughness, all the things that come with growing up in sports, I didn't grow up in. And so, my husband and I have this amazing relationship. And then we get on a court and it's like, what the hell happened? Like, who are you? And it's, when he read the book, I mean, he calls himself the villain in the book. But it really helped him become aware of the impact he has when he rolls his eyes or he tells me yet again that I did something wrong. And it's like, do you think I didn't know I did that wrong? Like, do I need you to tell me that? This is not a coaching moment,
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree because, I've been in a position where I've been on court and I just wanted the court to swallow me up. I just had enough halfway through. I couldn't get anything right. And I've been there. And so I always make sure whoever I'm playing with, that however bad a shot they've just played, I always encourage them. But not everybody's like that. And I know we always talk about how amazing this pickleball community is, and it is, but you do get people who just roll their eyes, and it's, it can be soul destroying, and particularly if it's with a regular partner.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I'll share one story from the book. True story. We were playing in our first PPA sponsored event down in southern Utah, playing in a tournament, and I think we're playing in 3-5s at this point. And this is, we've been playing we did really well in 3-0, then we're in 3-5s, and then Utah has a much more robust pickleball community than Costa Rica, so we were getting our asses handed to us, and then we were getting better, and I was drilling and taking lessons and going to camps and such. Anyway, match point against the couple that was actually more like 5-0s. My boyfriend says to me, he has a short drop right to my right side, and my hip was injured at the time, so I was moving pretty slow, and they've obviously picked up on that. He goes, "You must do something with this ball," as I'm like running. So of course I tense up on the paddle and I hit it right into the fucking net, right? and afterwards he's like, "Great job, great, good game, babe." I go, "Seriously, don't ever do that again." Like, what do you think I didn't know that it was match point and that I needed to get the dink back over, circle of life it right back over. So we laugh, and that's in the book about because he's like, "Well, that's not what I meant." I'm like, "But that's what you said."
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
My mum always used to say, "Keep your opinions to yourself."
Only.
Yeah. Do you think this is unique to pickleball? Because I do feel it's such a unique community. I've never played any other sport or badminton or squash and things like that, but it does feel like it is unique to pickleball.
I think what's unique is that there aren't that many sports where husbands and wives play together, because you really, in most sports, you have to be at the same level, but in pickleball you don't. So I think that's what makes it unique.
Right.
I mean, like Stormy said, this, as far as we know, it's the first book about relationships in sports out there. So, and it started with pickleball.
Yeah, and I think, so I agree. I think it's unique to pickleball because, again, the small space, the intensity of it, the fact that so many men and women that are in partnerships do play together, particularly as we get older, we want something to do with our partner, right? Or we want something to do with our partner,
Yeah.
But I do think there's some themes that would apply. I did grow up playing sports, and so I was a tennis player. My ex-husband was a very good college tennis player. We used to play together pretty seamlessly. And then, pickleball, we weren't playing pickleball. But I do think I live in Utah and we ski a lot. And there's always a thing. I saw a woman wearing a t-shirt that said, if I'm not paying you for your advice, I don't want it.
I've got to get that t-shirt.
Brilliant. I like that. Yeah.
And it made me laugh because I said, this is kind of like, I want to pay the cute ski instructor to instruct me, not my boyfriend to instruct me, So I think there's some overlap, but I think, like Terry said, our pickleball community, I mean, I can't think of another sport where so many men and women play together and are also in relationship together.
Yeah.
And if you're good at communicating on court, that's one thing. But if you're not great at communicating and you're the type of couple that just don't speak, or, there's no communication on court, how would you advise them to sort of get around that issue? Would you just say, you need to communicate more, or was it be techniques?
Therapist.
Is there any techniques they could use or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a great. So you said about communicating more, right? So this is the funny thing, right? In the chapter 2 of our book is no one thinks they're a bad communicator, because no one wants to communicate poorly. We just haven't really, as a society, we haven't really been taught good communication skills. We're taught all sorts of stuff in school that's like not even helpful, but we're not really taught. And communication is a practicable skill set. So yeah, practice communication. Also from the book, we have a pickleball EQ. So your emotional intelligence. How do you apply emotional intelligence to the pickleball court? By the way, this would work for anyone you're playing pickleball with, not just your love partner.
Okay.
But we have we call it a PEQ, but your pickleball EQ. Take the quiz, like find out where can you apply more emotional intelligence to your relationship and I mean, the book is written for on and off the court, right? How to help people.
Yes.
So those would be two skills that you can definitely improve on them, right? No one thinks they're a bad communicator.
No,
The third thing I would say is just grace. Have grace. Like nobody's trying to lose the point. Nobody's trying to hit it out. And it's just not the end of the world. Like have some perspective. Right.
Well, it is, but it's
yeah, exactly. It feels like it.
Yeah, it feels like it. So on the flip side, then, can it help a relationship? Because we've talked about it hurting a relationship, but can it help a relationship?
Well, I think that it's so cool that we get to play together. Like I love playing with Raj when we're not in a competitive setting. Like I feel like we're that couple. We're those, like I love it.
Right.
And I think, if you keep it in perspective, it is just pickleball. Let's go have fun. Let's just be social. But that intention has to be communicated and shared. Because if someone's going in there to win and I'm going in there to have a good time, we're probably not going to vibe very well.
So it can be like going on a picnic or going for a walk in the park, just something you do together to enjoy.
It can be. It can be. I mean, it can certainly be a good date or date night, whatever. But I think like anything, you mentioned about what about couples who don't tend to communicate well, right? And as a couples therapist, I can say that there are lots of those, right? That back to sweep it in under the rug, right? We're gonna smile and pretend everything's fine while inside I'm seething or whatever it might be. But it really does give you a workshop, like a terrain to practice being a better partner, being a better spouse or significant other, better lover, right? Like it gives you these place to practice it. And in my opinion, I hope I'm learning and growing to be a better person to my last breath. And pickleball is not exempt from that. It's actually part of that, right? I get to practice being a better partner for whomever I'm playing with on the court by using these skills that we use every day in our coaching businesses and then applying them to the pickleball court.
Obviously, I said earlier that I've never played with my wife or anything like that, but you guys have played with your partners. After you hit that euphoric moment where you've won a medal, you've got in the car and you can't wait to get home, throw each other on the bed, have that passion. It's been the best.
My favorite question. We've not been asked this question. Oh my gosh. Okay, I can answer that for me. So we actually did our first tournament. We crushed it. We won. We went all the way through. We won so much so that they invited us to play in the next level up. And we're like, let's do it. And we did very well there too.
Okay.
And then here's the thing. So in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to be sexy time when we get home. Right? After 11 hours of pickleball, we went home and all I wanted to do was have a glass of wine and go to
Brilliant.
And that's the impetus for a hip replacement.
Yeah, and actually that was seriously the night I hurt my hip.
So taking it one step further then.
Really don't.
Well, in a manner of speaking, but you know, we've often spoken about pickleball and dating, and you touched on it. You know, pickleball and dating are really hand in hand.
Yes.
Something is out there, and I actually, you know, researching for this episode, I realised that what a great tool pickleball is. A pickleball partnership on court is a great tool to see if you can actually make it in the real world.
Yes.
You know, if you
Yes.
can get on court, then it can work off court.
It
Is that
tells you
fair
a
to
lot.
say?
It tells you a lot about a person. I mean, line calls, encouragement, compassion. I mean, if you're out on a first date with a guy and he just keeps rolling his eyes, guess how that's going to go? You know? Like, I think like a lot of sports, it really tells you a lot about a person and how they handle competition and conflict and communication, all the things. So yeah, I think if I were dating, that's what I'd be doing. is being out
100%.
on the
I would
pickleball court.
too.
Yeah.
And
So
we
why-
did an article, I think it was New York Times or New York Post, I can't remember, a few months ago, but said that not for love partnerships, but for business, all the business that's being done on the pickleball courts, that the question was, has pickleball replaced golf for like the place to do business deals?
Okay.
Ah,
And we were
interesting.
talking about, because we were writing the book at the time, and it meant exactly this, like you really can tell a lot about a person by how they are on the court.
The problem is that in golf, you don't take the ball and smack it at somebody's body like you do in pickleball.
Yeah, there is no body bagging in golf.
Yeah.
Example about the body bag, like if I were out there dating and my partner body bags someone and doesn't say, hey, sorry, like I'm like, that's a little bit of a red flag, right? Like, I mean, yes, it can be an effective shot, we've all done it, but it's always followed by like a sorry, right? And at a 4-0, I mean, actually our pro in Costa Rica said it, at 4-0 level, if you body bag someone in the face, that's shame on you. You're a better player than that. You should be able to aim lower, like aim at their feet or aim at their knees, right? So I think there absolutely, you can tell a lot about a person.
Everybody says sorry, but nobody means it.
No,
I know.
But if you do hit somebody, I am genuinely concerned, you know, that they're okay, as long as I win the point.
I was gonna say,
I feel that
I
way
hope
too.
they're okay, and yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Over to you.
Over to me. I didn't have another.
Okay,
question,
so let's talk about drama with a capital D.
We have been.
So, obviously, you know, you must have you experienced like major drama? Have you experienced like a breakup on court? That must be amazing to see.
We didn't experience a breakup, but at the last tournament we played in Costa Rica, there was a pickleball. 3, in fact. 3 pickleballs.
3, one day.
One person.
Brawl, I love
in
it.
all 3.
Really?
One guy in all 3, involved in all 3.
Really?
Yes. So that was something new.
And here's
Wow.
the part, here's where the relationship part gets in. The first one, which I ended up playing nurse because this other guy was like bleeding everywhere and I wanted to make sure he didn't need stitches, which he did. But I mean, it was full on bleeding. He wasn't even playing pickleball. He was defending his wife who was playing with this guy. So they were mixed doubles, but not love partners. Clearly no love there.
Yeah.
And the 2 guys ended up getting in a full fight.
Oh,
Never seen anything like it.
I've actually never seen anything like that in the UK yet.
Yeah.
I've actually seen 2 women fight once.
Oh, you're so lucky.
But nothing else.
This was in Costa Rica.
Which is all Pura Vida, super chill. We were like, what is going on?
But I will say, leave it to the Americans to do the
Yeah.
pickleball because they were all American.
Yep.
Something else you mentioned is playing with intention. Can you just explain a bit about what that means?
Yeah, I think we really address that in a couple of places in the book, but we have a chapter called When a Banger and a Dinker Walk into a Bar, right? So you might be, and like for my boyfriend and I started out, because I came from tennis, I was all power, he was all finesse. And
You're
then
one of those.
we've actually been both very much working on switching. So I've been working much more on my finesse game, and he's been working much more on his power game so that we're more balanced in play.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But again, that intention is so important so that I understand. And let's say I'm playing with Terry, so not my love partner, right? I mean, I love Terry, but you know, not sleeping with Terry. But like, so let's say my intention is for my hip right now is to like get to be quicker off the baseline to the kitchen, right? Because I'm a little slow on that. I'm still healing. that's really important for her to know, because A, she's going to cover a little bit more for me, like cover my ass and let me be in the transition zone a touch longer. And let's say hers is like, she's all like poach energy. I'm going to work on my, coming over and poaching off the return. That's all really important to know. And it helps us be in sync, but it also helps us avoid conflict.
Okay. Terry, are you thinking to yourself, how long is she going to use this hip replacement as an excuse for not getting to the net quick enough?
Run for my lobs. She's got to run for my drops.
As we were playing yesterday, I was kind of thinking that.
So
it's true. I got to go see my PT and be like, all right, it's time. Let's go.
I'm a little less forgiving than most people.
Yeah, I've got one of those. So how about couples that feel trapped? Like, what's the answer to that when, you mention about being in a cage?
Well, there's a couple of ways to think about that. Couples who feel trapped because they're on a court, they can't get off the court because you're playing with another couple and things have just gone to shit. So what do you do then? I'm very big on taking the pause. And that may involve a safe word. That may just be, I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to step back. I'm going to reset myself. You can't control your partner. They're going to do what they do, but you've got to find a way to reset yourself so that your center is grounded and you're not, reactive to your partner's eye rolls and whatever behavior they're doing on the court. You just really have to find yourself and get settled. So that's while you're on the court. The other part about feeling stuck is, if you let go of your partner, then who do you end up playing with? And that becomes a real dilemma. So you kind of have to weigh the benefits and costs of playing together and decide if it's going to work for you or not.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think people feel stuck when they don't feel like they have options, right? They don't feel like they have tools, right? So then the reality is we're all sovereign human beings who can choose to play pickleball with whomever we want or play singles, right? And so I think when we give people, knowledge is power. So when we give people knowledge and tools, they then have full choice to be able to say, maybe we don't play together, or maybe we try this before throwing in the towel. And that was really our intention, was to give people tools and choices.
And it's okay to take a break. It's okay. Like, no judgment. If you need a break from each other, take a break from each other, but don't let it just die.
Yeah.
Because that's not good.
And pickleball pause. Like I think it was last, when we were in Costa Rica, my partner and I were in conflict, like in real life. And I don't even remember what it was about because, whatever, that's how it goes. But we went to the courts and I go, we're just going to choose to not play together today. It's open play. And watch out, because you might get body bags, but we're going to play against each other, not with each other. And we both decided that there was no angst in that, and it was the right decision for us. And we wrote the book, right? We're not perfect at this by any means, but giving ourselves, like Terry mentioned earlier, grace for both of you to choose. Like, today's not a good day to play together, right? And that's okay too.
Okay. Would that also come in for tournaments for you as well? Would you choose to maybe not play in a tournament together if you felt like you weren't?
I'm super competitive, and I came from a tennis background. So if I've committed to play with him, I'm going to find a way to do it in a tournament. That's my approach. And we both love tournaments together, and we rise in tournaments together. It's really good for our dynamic. It works. We actually play our best together in tournaments.
Okay. That's good.
So I think and honestly, we do the worst when we're just out there loafing it around, or whatever, maybe playing with people who are not as not the same level as us. But everyone's different. Terry, you tell about yours.
We currently do not play high stakes tournaments together.
Okay.
And is that just because you're at different levels, or was it causing other issues?
It's because rule number one. Because
he's the villain.
He's the villain. He can be a villain. If you're the guy, he's like the nicest guy ever, but he's very competitive.
He's very good, and he is also a very good instructor. So, for example, right, it's a different dynamic. When I play with Raj, I'm like, give me all the tips, all the feedback, because A, I'm not sleeping with him. B, I don't play with him all the time. So it's different, right? It's totally different. And he is the nicest guy. He's also really great at strategy and seeing the court. But if I were Terry, I'd be the same way. I'd be like, time out, too much, so.
Yeah. I guess some people, you know, maybe it's also helpful to have a conversation before you go on court about this is what I don't want. This, you know, this is what we should be doing. Don't do this, do that.
We do we'll talk about like, what do I need to be thinking about? I can't think about everything, but one of the things I need to be doing more of is moving my feet. I need to move my feet. So we'll talk, we'll do some pre-focus work, but also I will say, I need you to be positive. If you can't be positive, I need you to not talk. Those are the choices. I mean, that's what I need from you. Now, it doesn't mean he's always going to do it, but he now knows I've been clear. This is what I need. This is what I don't need. And that's, again, the more communication you can have between you, doesn't mean everybody's going to be perfect or do it right, but at least if you say something negative, I'm going to react the way I will.
I mean, we've tried, not talking too much,
Also, Andy likes a bit of humor on court. I noticed, that's one of the things you talk about. He's very makes jokes about us losing before we're even on the court quite a lot.
It's just my sort of safety mechanisms, it's just,
and then I'm on the court going, look, right, be serious now. You need to be serious now. And he's like laughing and joking.
But, we have it drilled, we've spoken to other mental coaches who we've had on, and they've talked about focus and being serious. And, sometimes I feel like I need to let it out. If I do a great shot and there's people watching, then I'll just let myself go and I'll roar to the crowd of 3 people. But, because sometimes you forget that people want to be entertained, and I might the other week I turned around and said, "Are you being entertained?" So
did they say no?
They looked at me like I was strange, and then I realized it was actually, I knew I'd heard that somewhere. It was a line from Gladiator, which I just watched the other day. Are you entertained?
I just watched that today too, because I want to see the second one. So
exactly, that's why I watched it.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes we're told, it's drilled into us, don't do this, don't do that. And so I think sometimes humor, it just lightens the mood a bit. I don't know. Is that wrong?
Well, I mean, so I'm going to stick with it. We got a theme going. So we talked about safe words and throubles. I'm going to talk about aftercare, which is also from that, the kink world, the genre of kink. But I love aftercare, which would mean, so for example, you just said, Andy, let's say you roar to the crowd, and the crowd, of 3 is like, woo, back at you, right? When you're doing your aftercare means like a recap, like Terry mentioned, maybe it's in the car, maybe it's the next day, or maybe it's next time you guys are out drilling. But you might be like, hey, Rob, what was that like for you? I felt very convicted to just roar to the crowd. How did that land for you? Right. Because then he gets to be actually it kind of hyped me up. Right. Otherwise you're making an assumption about what that was like for your partner. And assumptions are almost always some degree to totally wrong. Right. Because they're through our own lens. So I think that aftercare, that checking in with your partner of how was that for you? Or, I was working on this strategy. How did that feel for you being my partner? Right. Maybe you're going to, whether you're going to do respect the X or the forehand has the middle, maybe you're trying both and seeing which one you liked better. Just that communication, that check-in piece afterwards can be really helpful for the next time.
Yeah, it goes back to that communication, doesn't it, again?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and being who you are. I mean, you are who you are. And the more you can communicate about what works and what doesn't work, the better you can be as players and a unit.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't like who I am. That's the problem. But we'll save that for a whole other issue. That can be another episode.
That's a whole other episode.
So do you ever see a situation where, I know we've talked about couples breaking up and dating, but there must be issues where couples just hit it off so well, and obviously then might take it off the court when they shouldn't be. There must be, it must be quite unique to pickleball that, extramarital affairs happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to that question of it's very intimate, right? It is intimate, right?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, Rob, you're texting and you're traveling and maybe you're doing tournaments together. And that was one thing when I was, so I'll say first, when I was contemplating not playing with my boyfriend, I'm and I'm not a very jealous person. It's just not how I'm wired. I'm people are going to do what they're going to do. I am who I am. But I'm how, I don't think I'm going to love him traveling all over and playing with another woman on like, especially if I think I can beat the woman in singles, I'm not really going to want to playing with that. But I mean, that was really something I held on to. And so I think there is an intimacy. So that I would say comes down to trust and communication. If you are in a partnership and you're not playing pickleball together, like have those conversations. We were just talking today about like infidelity is like means all different things. Like there's micro infidelities, and how do you feel about someone texting someone of the opposite sex? So like those are great conversations that will help your relationship, even if you're not playing pickleball together.
I think our wives are just happy we're not bothering them.
There's that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go on.
No, I was
okay. I was just going to say, well, it leads on to what happens on the court stays on the court. So.
No. No, it doesn't. The Vegas.
We like to say that though.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, fine. So, go on.
Well, no, what we mean is
We want
when
it
you're
to.
in tension, when you're having conflict, we want it to stay on the court. We want it contained. We don't want to get in the car and be pissed off, and we don't want to have a shitty night because he said something he shouldn't have said, or I hit something I shouldn't have hit, or whatever. We want it to stay on the court and be contained, but it's hard to do that.
Right. I mean, and we actually say in the book, the flip side of the same coin, which is, the slogan, US slogan, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I'm like, bullshit. That is not true. Actually, what happens in Vegas, you bring home into your relationship. So, so yes, ideally conflict, we want to let it be on the court, let it stay on the court. But what happens in your relationship comes onto the court, right? And what happens on the court goes into your relationship. And so, again, even more reason why we want people to have strategies to be able to, like Terry said, take a pause, call a timeout, use a safe word, which, for me just means enough. I'm saturated. I don't want any more feedback, even if it's like good feedback, like actual honest feedback or kind feedback. I've hit my quota. I don't want it. I just want to play. Right. So all those strategies help communication, because we don't play pickleball in a vacuum, right? If we're playing with our love partner, or like you guys playing with your best friends, like it absolutely can have impact, and we don't want it to.
No, we don't. Do you have any advice for couples who are thinking of starting to play? Sorry.
You're getting emotional.
I'm getting dry. Any advice for couples that are thinking they want to go and play pickleball together, but they're not sure it might not work out? Have you got any advice for those people?
Well, my number one piece of advice is read the book.
Do
some
What's your number two?
But I would say take a lesson. Take a lesson. Get the fundamentals together. Don't just go out and try to wing it, because inevitably somebody will start giving you advice and everybody's got an opinion and blah blah blah. Just get the basics down first.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece, because like Terry mentioned, one thing we see in pickleball more than any other sport, in my opinion, is different levels, right? So maybe let's just use the woman. Maybe she's more athletic, or she was a tennis player, and so she's going to start off, even if neither of you have ever played, which isn't the case for you, Rob. But let's say that she might be better than the guy to start with, right? And so, lesson is a great way to kind of like just make sure we're all on equal footing. We're all understanding how the rules work. We know how the scoring can be confusing for people at first, right? Those things, but that because you can choose to. We have couples like, so we play in our club. We'll play like the 4-0, my partner and I. But then a couple of the guys that we play with, they play date nights with their wives who are more like 3-0 players. They do it once a week. It's a couples thing. They're having wine. It's like very casual, and that's what they have found works for them. So they found a middle ground, and then the guys will come and play in the 4-0s. And in this case, it's the men. Well, there's women too, but with our friends, it's the men. But you always, where there's a will, there's a way, and you can navigate your relationship however you choose to.
Like we just met this group we were at a book signing the other day, and there were 4 couples who play every Thursday night together. They call it couples therapy, which I find to be a little ironic, but it's a fun thing to get together because it's a social thing to do. You do it with your partner and it's fun. So I think the more fun you can make it, especially at first, the better foundation you're going to have as you get more competitive. I heard this great term called competimate. So it's when your teammate and your competitor, same person. Mm-hmm. So I'm embracing that.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
So the answer is more wine. That's what I heard.
That is always the answer.
Yeah. Well, and this group she's talking about at Austin Pickle Ranch, where we were playing, they stay on this Thursday night for 2 hours. They don't change. So they go in with their love partner, who's their mixed doubles partner, and they stay with their partner, right? So it's not going to be an open play switch around or king of the
Right.
court switch around. And that's what they do for 2 hours, because they're like, it also gives us a chance to like drill and to improve with our
Mhm.
partner, and to also see how other couples maybe are navigating, you know, who covers the forehand or whatever, who covers the middle, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's
I mean-
been absolutely amazing to have you on. It's been a pleasure.
It's been great fun,
This is
as
so
much
fun.
as I expected it to be. Before we go, can you just explain to people where they can get the book, how they can get the
Give us
book?
the name of the book again. Yeah, and
Yes.
tell everyone where they can get it from.
The name of the book is In a Pickle: How to Master Love and Pickleball and Not Kill Each Other. And it's available on Amazon.com.
Okay,
Perfect.
and it's also, I also know it's available on Amazon.co.uk, and I'm guessing probably every Amazon around the country, around the world as well.
And I think you can also follow us on loveandpickleball.net is our website. So there's going to be, you know, information about retreats and things like that coming up, or on Instagram at love_and_pickleball.
Okay, and
brilliant.
are you doing anything else coaching, actual pickleball coaching?
Well, so she just referred to retreats. So our brand is called Love and Pickleball, and we're going to be starting couples retreats soon.
Okay.
We're not
So
sure
that's
when.
like vacations.
Yeah, like vacations where you play pickleball and you work on your relationship.
Great. Well,
Wow.
you're single.
So that's fine. We're thinking book 2 is going to be about dating, and then also to have like retreats where single people come and get to be able to, so that you're not just seeing about what's my, you know, is she a 4-0 and I'm a 4-0, or a 3-5 and I'm a 3-5, but actually like what's our compatibility, what's our love languages, how do we communicate, right? Some people are Terry and I are both very direct in our communications. Not everyone is, right? So you start to like really look at how aligned am I with this person? What's a potential partner? And if you're with your partner already, in our couples retreats, how can we improve on these skills?
That's amazing. Well, we're coming.
Okay, sweet.
and I guess ultimately you'll have singles retreats, and you'll have there'll be pineapples on the doors and things like that. And you know, if you've
Right.
That's a great word.
and if you've cruised, then you know what that means. And if you don't, you don't. But yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you
And
very much.
don't go anywhere afterwards, because we're gonna have our own therapy session afterwards. But thank you so much for joining us. It's been great fun, and everybody go out there and buy the book. It's going to be life-changing, and it's going to make you laugh as well.
Yes. Great.
So
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
Have a great week. Thanks for
Bye.
listening.
Thank you.
So lovely.